Well, I'm in Belton, Texas. It's about 1 hour north of Austin, and just moved out of my apartment in Austin, and right now taking a little bit time to prepare for this road trip. And I got an Airbnb right next to this really awesome lake, and it's kind of an interesting shot right here because everything is underwater, and I didn't figure this out until I drove much closer by, because I thought this is like some kind of new Texas water structure thing, but no, these are just picnic huts or gazebos underwater, which is kind of cool. I don't know. It seems I don't know if it bodes well for the fate of this channel or anything like that, but I just thought it's an interesting scenery. Try to shoot some B-rails back there, and it was a really nice father and son pair fishing over there, so I didn't want to bother them too much. So moved over here. Lighting's really good. Weather's really warm now, 60 degrees in the winter right after New Year's. Like, just doesn't feel very real. Yeah, right now Dima and Anna, they have bought their tickets to come join me in Dallas, and thought they were gonna join me like much sooner, but Anna had some personal issues to take care of, so it might take them extra couple days, but they'll be here in Texas within a week, and we're gonna go on our road trip. So the car is right over there, park right there. Let's see if you can see it right down there. It's pretty nice, huh? Pretty neat. Way back there. Still not very good with operating the camera while, doing stuff, but yeah, we'll see. It'll be a long trip, driving across the South, and not sure exactly what we want to do yet, but we have like 4 or 5 ideas floating out there. The key is to have content that we can try to create on a regular basis and still interesting for folks. One thing I thought of doing, which is pretty fascinating, like I was randomly watching this documentary on Netflix called In Search of General Tao, and I've never been the biggest fan of General Tao, but like I find it pretty palatable, so I'll eat it. But the story behind it actually was super fascinating, and it was a good way to, through this very sort of quotidian item, explore the identity of I guess Asian Americans, or specifically Chinese Americans. And I'm not that like racially interested in things. I try to get involved, but I think like compared to a lot of my peers who are very dedicated, like I'm not the biggest fan. Yeah, I mean, like I'm interested in human interest. Like I care about people individually, and as a group, I try to understand things, understand where they come from, what they care about, and the things that really makes them tick. And so, long story short, I thought that because this idea came to me when I was driving back from Phoenix, when I was visiting my parents. And I thought that, wow, there's so many of these, tiny little towns around. I go in to some random gas station, and they have, 1 or 2 Chinese or Asian origin individuals serving, exotic cuisine. And I found that super fascinating. And I just think, how did these people end up here? And I thought about some other literature I've read before where, there's a lot of people that come to this country illegally, and not the same means that most Americans are familiar by, which is right now the hot debate with the wall and everything. But there are folks that came here maybe by plane, or somehow was on a cargo ship and things like that, and they come here undocumented and they have nothing to do. And I think what I read was that there are organizations out there, definitely in the gray to black market classification of things, that basically help these people get settled down, and so they send them to all these small towns. And I feel like that's just, like I would love to hear the story of these people, because I don't know. There's another article I read before. These are all in the back of my mind, like, and they all coalesce together ultimately. But I remember this one article was saying that, like, one thing you can find in every town is probably like a McDonald's and a Chinese restaurant, and there's more Chinese restaurant in America, more number of them compared to the number of McDonald's and KFC and Subway combined. So I think, like, I'll believe that. I think the classification method, I don't know, I haven't really looked deeply into it, but yeah, in any case, like, I think in the spirit of a road trip, it's not much effort for us to just stop by all these places, and I think it'll be fascinating to review some of this, in a sort of tongue-in-cheek food travel thing. But like, what I really want to do is actually talk to some of these folks, and I just, one quick example, I actually went to a place like that today, to scout it out. I mean, right now I'm in, like, a relatively smaller community in Texas. It's not completely rural, because I think because of this lake, there's actually a lot of folks that, have like vacation home or country houses here. So I assume that, the business establishment here, especially the restaurants, probably have tried to, like, tailor their grade of services and quality of food to that clientele. And I basically went into a restaurant. It was a Chinese restaurant. I went there for a lunch buffet. I wasn't really hungry, but I just really want to check it out and see, like, what that's gonna feel like. And basically I walked in, and it's all like, one thing that really struck me was that, like, none of those folks were Chinese when I first walked in. There's like probably like 2 Hispanic ladies who were manning the front door. There's one Hispanic guy who was the main busboy, and then there's one guy that I could see visibly was Chinese. He's the one that's manning the sushi station. And I haven't done too many interviews. Like, I'm pretty like talkative and, like, gregarious. I just like to randomly talk to people, but still, like, these days I haven't really figured out, like, how to just go up to people and, like, oh, hey, I'm gonna ask you very deep and personal questions. But in any case, just trying to get a feel. And I went up to get some soup and came back and walked towards his station. And even without opening my mouth, like, he first started talking to me, and he was really friendly, and he asked me, like, am I a student? And I guess based on my very baby looking face, and like, I probably can come off as a student very often. But in any case, like, I asked him back in Chinese, of course, like, oh, like, how long you been here? And there's a lot of Chinese people here. And he says, no, there's some that come in, but mostly it's not, like, Chinese people are not this clientele, which makes sense. Like, I think it's very funny that any self-respecting real Chinese people probably would very rarely go to a restaurant like this, just because it's a very different taste. And kind of ironically, that it's for people like me who's been a lot more Americanized. Like, I actually find this to be, like, a very interesting cuisine that I kind of miss once in a while. But I was just thinking, I didn't have a long conversation with him. I really thought that, if there's a way, to just stop and then go, like, maybe chat with him and record all of this, because I think that, like, this could be very, little fish jump by. This could be a set of very interesting stories to tell to the people. Just because, like, I don't know, when I first moved to America, like, I went with my parents to Alaska, and that's a whole nother story. But in any case, we moved to this very small town called Fairbanks, about 90 miles from the Arctic Circle, and 30 to 50,000 people, but all super scattered, like, nothing, like, very, very spread out. There's about, like, I would say under 100, maybe like 70 Chinese people there, because there's, like, a university. It's actually the northernmost university in the US. And like, I remember, even with that community in mind, like, we were very close together. But even as when I first came to America, like, obviously, I was still fully Chinese, Chinese, like, fresh off the boat Chinese. that community was very important for me. But even so, like there's stuff that you can do, but you can't really completely replace, the place that you came from, right, originally. And I can't imagine for folks like these, the man that I talked to, the chef, today, like how does he practice, his own culture? Like how does he, do the things he likes? Like I don't know his story. I don't purport to think that like he's completely isolated and like have no outlets whatsoever, but I just think that, like these days with the internet, maybe like, yeah, you're more connected. You probably have WeChat, it's like Chinese WhatsApp, and then you can like, watch Chinese movies or, like listen to Chinese music on your phone while you're working, and maybe that makes you feel like home. But in any case, like you probably still need real interaction, right? You need the people around you. And like, what does it feel like to work in a very foreign environment on a day-to-day basis, serving food that you definitely, it's definitely not Chinese, but like that's what people have appropriated to you. I don't find a problem in that, to be honest. Like I'm gonna take the camp where, I think it's fine that other cultures readapt your cuisine, but in any case, like I'm not like too upset about that. There's some people that get really upset about it, and that's understandable. But end of the day, I want to go back there. I still have about 4 or 5 days left, 3 to 4 days left in this Airbnb in Belton. It's really nice. Like I might come here for a run in the morning, like down this lake. But just trying to get this show started, and just want to stand here and talk a little bit about what we're gonna do potentially, and just still practicing the finer details of this camera. And seems like I got sort of a workflow figured out. Very excited to take it on the road. And another update, we have all these different setups. Like we all invested quite a bit of our own resources into doing this, and I don't know if that bodes well. I know a lot of people started with bare bone, but for us, like we're luckier to be able to like take a bigger risk in terms of our initial equipment investment. But I'm pretty excited about all the things we have. I mounted a GoPro for the car. Dima also got a drone, so they're playing with it in Brooklyn right now. Seems like it gets some really good footage. But end of the day, these equipments are just tools. It's what really matters is how you ultimately use these tools to your benefit. And I think that I just want to go out there and start shooting. Like I just want to get on the road, talk to people. Like some experiences could just be pure fun, just pure unadulterated, silliness and things like that. I'm totally down. But end of the day, like what I really want to do is use this opportunity and use this experience to just talk to more people, and talk to people that you never thought of meeting. I mean, I'm thinking of like myself, like I've been constantly being transient most of my adult life, and there's just so many great conversations I've had with people, but they're kind of lost on others. And I feel like I'm lucky enough to be constantly put in situations where I meet new people, and like I would say that I'm a very interesting reflective lens or kaleidoscope for other people to shine their own experience through, just because I've personally had a very wide range of experiences. And so I had a lot of great times out there, when I was backpacking, when I was couch surfing, even when I was living abroad, and when I was visiting my girlfriend in Russia and things like that. Like all these things could be documented, and I think that just life just felt a lot more fulfilling on the road. Like I'm not gonna give you any platitude about this is the only way to live your life, but at least that this is my life right now, and I really want to just show this to other people, and that's it. There's no other imperative. There's no other like, there's no way that I'm gonna brainwash you or proselytize you into thinking that travel is the only way. Like I met plenty of folks like that on the road, and it's fine, like they're trying to sell a lifestyle, they're trying to sell the way of living, and I get it, like that's just by being that way, like by pandering, by by virtual signaling. It's a good way to sell stuff. And I don't know what this will become. I feel like monetizing this is probably one of our goals, on definitely on top of the list, because for us, we just don't want to burn down our savings. We want to make this into a true endeavor, and unfortunately, commercialization is an inevitable part of it. But for me, I feel like I'm not as pressed as the others, but so for me, I think I can keep my philosophy in a way that how do I put it? I would still want to commercialize, but in a way that reshape the sort of meta of how things are being commercialized right now. Because I think end of the day, what we're competing for is people's attention. It's competing for another spot in this attention economy. And I feel like people are used to the pandering. People want to be shocked. People want to be offended. People want to see the sex and the violence, and that's fine. I grew up on that too. I'm not going to make any value judgment over whether that's right or wrong. I think obviously, people should make that decision for themselves. But with that being said, there's another side of things, which is not trying to provoke too directly, which is not trying to just sort of grab your attention with obviously misleading information and things like that. I think there's another side that just basically is people, people who are really interesting, people who have real lives, and people that you can really spend time with and make a connection with. And I think I believe in, we're probably going to talk this a lot on the road, because Dima and I debated this a lot, but I'm one of those fools that, really believe humans are inherently good to an extent. I studied psychology and philosophy for a long time, but this never changed. I know, things like free will, and that is a complicated issue, but just deep down in my heart, at least how I've led my own life, is that I tend to believe in the best in people. And I just want to take this philosophy out there and turn that into information, turn that into content, and turn that into, stuff that people really care about. And I don't know, I've never done this before. I've never really stood in front of a camera and talked into it that much. I did that 1 or 2 months ago with my previous series, which I don't know if I'll post or not, but that was when I got hacked. And that for me was sort of a crisis response thing, and for me to calm myself down, for me to actually talk myself through the situation so I don't freak out. And that's pretty much all the experience that I had. And now, I feel like once we're doing this full time, my image will be constantly recorded and presented to the whole wide world, unlimited. So that to me is both daunting and exciting at the same time. But with that being said, I want to take this responsibility and do it in the right way, and do it in a way that I want to do it. So yeah, I'm excited to get out there. And I don't know, if I never decided to do something like this, I would never be in Belton, Texas. Maybe if I stayed in Austin long enough and we run out of things to do, and we'll probably drive here. But in any case, my point is that I think this is something that will, bring a lot of interesting experiences into our lives and enrich ourselves. And for me, that alone is quite exciting, and I can't wait to get started. So, yeah, stop mumbling now and get back to it. We might go to a different spot around here. It's a pretty white lake, and you can drive all around it, and we'll catch some other, maybe a higher ground view before the sun fully fades. But it's really nice today. It's the sun is getting me actually kind of hot right now. It's just been pointing my face, and I've been talking for almost exactly 20 minutes. So stay tuned, guys.